Hi, Steve Aggasild here once again, Soul and Jazz Flavors in conjunction with our very good friends at Soulstrutter, the UK's #1 soul music blog. Philadelphia born, but now resident in New York, Antonio has been brought to everyone's attention these last little while because of his work with Output Input, but he isn't the new kid on the block because he has his own history. So let's ask him about it. Antonio McLendon, welcome. Hi.
Steve, what is going on? Thank you so much for having me, man.
So, yeah, I just want to touch briefly, Antonio, on your own history before, obviously, you've become to a lot of people's attention through your work with Output Input. And I've got to say that the first time that I came across you was on a compilation album back in 2016 called Welcome to Groove City Volume 1.
Welcome to Groove City.
An absolutely kicking track, which still gets played today, and I still play it regularly, called That's the Way.
Yes. Yes.
Give us a little bit of a history about Antonio McLendon, if you wouldn't mind.
Not at all. Antonio McLendon. I come from a wonderfully blessed musical family. I've been singing since I know myself. I started playing bass guitar and piano around 6, 7 years old, and mainly inspirational and gospel in my house growing up. And by the time I was 15 or so, I was allowed to actually play on performances with my family when they sang around the Philadelphia, Delaware, Maryland, DC area. Moved to New York. I guess I'm skipping over a few years, but moved to New York in the late 80s, early 90s, and hooked up with a producer whose brother happened to be married to my sister, Keith Diamond, who discovered Billy Ocean, and he wrote the songs Caribbean Queen and Suddenly.
Wow. Okay.
And he took me under his wing, and he was like, he's like, you have something, would you like to learn the music business, and would you like to take that further? And I was only too happy to accept all of his help. A few years later, as we, began like a working relationship, he would bring me in on demos that he would do for people like Donna Summer and Gladys Knight, and jazz musicians who needed hooks and choruses sung. He would include me in that. Sadly, in '97, he passed away suddenly.
Okay.
And by that time, I was remarried. I had four of my 5 children by then. So I kind of put my music career on the back burner and decided to try to just kind of take care of my family. And maybe one day that dream would come back, but I never, ever gave up on wanting to be an influence in music. I always said I wanted to be an influence for good through my music. I wanted to sing about love. I wanted to sing about relationships that work, and getting through relationships that seem like they're not working. There's always a positive edge, and I want to be the face of that in my music. So early 2000s, late 90s, I met a man by the name of Gil Small, who was the producer of Welcome to Groove City. And I met him through my younger brother, Lerone McLendon, who's also a phenomenal singer.
Okay.
And that relationship began. So what Gil did is he sent me a few tracks and was like, your brother told me you write. I was like, yeah, I write a little here and there. And that's the way it came from. And That's the Way is, to me, I call it a love song from God to us, his creation. And it talks about how he's known us from the time we were born, and all through our lives, he's promised to never leave us and always take care of us. And that's the way. That's the kind of way he loves, And
well, why don't we play a small snippet of this particular track. That's
Okay.
From a 2016 compilation called Welcome to Groove City Volume 1. This is Antonio McLendon, and That's the Way.
That's how much I love you. That's how much I love you. 'Cause that's the way I love you. Do anything for you. Do anything for you. That's how much I love you. Even the angels, they want to know why you mean so much to me.
The next piece of music that I've come across was from in 2021 called My Baby.
Yes.
So what happened in the interim?
In the interim, I was actually in the interim, I started my home studio, and I was actually doing a lot of work helping other people complete their projects.
Okay.
Writing for, you know, several unknown artists and people kind of coming up and trying to get their careers started. Arranging background vocals for several artists. And that was kind of my day-to-day until the my friend Joe Ham, wonderful guy, drummer, musician, producer, brought the My Baby track to me. And he was singing it, and he was like, "Man, it's a good song, but I don't want my voice on it. Can you can you sing it for me?" And beautiful song. I love it.
Well, tell you what, let's again play a small snippet of this from 2021, Antonio McLendon, and this is My Baby.
That's why I dedicate this song to you. This is for my baby. This is for my baby. This is for my baby.
I need her next to me.
This is for my baby.
My baby, my baby, my baby.
Sometimes you just know when you've got a good.
So, Antonio, since then, there was How I Feel in 2022. And then 2023, you've had 3 songs. You've had Gonna Be All Right with Andre Ski Taylor. You've had Forever with Be in the Family. And then on your own, My Little Girl. So, you know, you, despite everything else that's been going on, you've still been recording and releasing material under your own name.
I guess I'm a consummate dreamer. There's music is in my bones, and through all the trials and obstacles in life, I believe God used music to keep me on track and to keep me, you know, full of hope for, you know, a reason to wake up every day and get going, you know. So any opportunity I've had to release music, to share with the world what the gifts I've been blessed with, I'm always going to do it. Yeah.
Well, that brings us to this.
Ooh, yeah.
That brings us to this. How does it feel to be the lead vocalist on an album that is being hailed as album of 2023?
That's mind-blowing. That is mind-blowing. When you consider all of the wonderful people in the band, we've except for the drummer, because I've known the drummer for some years, but I didn't know he was a part of the band when I first started singing with them. You know, here's this group of people. We've never ever been in the same room together. All the vocals for that CD have been done right in my little room right here, and to see the response you know, it's like, this is why you never give up on a dream.
For sure.
You never know when a day like this is going to happen.
So
And
let me
something
let me ask you this,
fantastic.
Antonio. Did you have to audition for the position of lead vocalist in Output Input?
No, actually, a very wonderful new friend of mine, Mr. Mark Love, he sort of did the auditioning for me, because I think the story goes, he saw the band, or some of the members of the band, performing live in the UK once the doors kind of opened for like live performance and stuff again, and they were doing covers, and he asked them, you know, could you guys use some original music? And they were like, yeah, you know, what do you got? Let us hear it. So to backtrack a little, a good friend of mine, also world-renowned producer, Mr. Lawrence Holland, he was friends with Mark Love. And he called me one day. He was like, hey, I got this friend in the UK who's a wonderful songwriter, but he needs somebody to sing his songs. I want to connect you guys together. I was like, hey, no problem. So I spoke to Mark. Mark was like, I'm almost ready to begin. And when I am, I'll get in contact with you and we can proceed. So since that initial meeting, I think it was like a year went by.
Yeah.
And he texted me and he was like, ready to go? Are you ready? And I was like, I'm ready. So I think I did like 3 songs with Mark. And those were the songs that he let the members of the Output Input band hear. So we get down the road a bit, and it's like the band is like really coming together, like we really have something here, but we need a lead singer. We're pulling from friends who sing to do leads on some of the tracks, but it'd be nice to have a lead singer.
Yeah.
So Mark suggests, why don't you use the guy who's demoing my music?
Okay.
Yeah. And they were like, you think he's available? And he was like, well, I'll ask him. And of course I said, oh yeah, I'm available.
Fabulous.
And here we have Output Input with a project that I can't take out of my car. When my phone connects to my car, when I turn it on, right now, it's, people say, oh, you're listening to your own music. I understand that music is a gift.
Of
And
course,
when something beautiful happens, like the Output Input project, I believe there's a higher power involved. So I can listen to it like an outsider, like I didn't have anything to do with it, and just, kind of enjoy the beauty of it.
I know certainly, and the album hasn't been out that long, literally just a couple of months now. And I know prior to the album coming out, there were, I think, 5 singles. I might be wrong. I think there was 5 singles prior to the album coming out. But even listening to the whole album as regularly as I do, and as others have, every single track still sounds so fresh.
Oh man, it really does. It really does. It sounds
And the other mind-blowing thing about this, right? And you touched on it earlier.
Yeah.
You guys have never been together to record any of this.
No. From little studios all around the world, this project has come to be.
That is just phenomenal.
So you can imagine how I'm waiting for. I can hardly wait for a live performance, to actually be able to look around on the same stage with these musicians and let people know, this is real. This is a bunch of wonderfully gifted people who came together to make something really nice.
Yeah. Now, I know when it first was made available to the general public, it was only available as a digital download. Then the CDs came out.
Yeah.
And I think just this week they've announced that vinyl is being pressed up.
Yes.
Need to get my hands on a copy of one of them as well. And also, there is a remix which has just been completed by Georgie B of "I'm in Love."
Yes, and I love it. I love it.
I've heard a little snippet of it, and it sounds pretty damn good to me as well.
It's fire. It's fire for real.
And it's due, I think, well, November isn't that far away. So it's the middle of
Yeah.
November, I believe it's going to become available.
Yes.
But, yeah, I mean, it still blows me away that you guys have never met. You perform in all corners of the globe. Somehow, Melvin and his magic just gets all this stuff together.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, as I think I'm correct in saying, 5 of the tracks were released as singles before the album came out. And then there were tracks that we hadn't heard before, Time of Our Lives. Oh, man alive, that is so good.
Oh, thank you.
Every Time You Touch Me, which is the bonus track on the CD.
On CD, yes.
But you've also got the likes of Will Downing's wife doing vocals on one of the
Yes.
You've got Brent Carter as well.
How amazing is that?
He's no slouch either after his time with Power of Power. I mean, gee whiz.
I'm telling you, it's a dream. It's a dream.
So let me ask you this question then. 2024, you guys must be speaking about going on the road at some point.
It has been brought up, and I'm only too happy to clear whatever might be on my schedule to be available for that. Yeah, I heard as early as like February, March.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that can come together.
And is that going to be UK Europe, or is that going to be stateside, or what?
UK Europe.
Okay. Good stuff. Yeah. Well, listen, as I asked you, how does it feel to be the lead vocalist on the album of the year? I think you've answered that question, actually.
Oh.
It's such a kicking album. It really is, from start to finish. It continues to sound fresh every time that you listen to it.
Yeah.
The quality of the production and the musicianship alone in this is wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody is really, all of the musicians are so at the top of their game. And to bring all that together, it's that kind of music that lives a long time.
It certainly does. It certainly does. Antonio McLendon, it's been an absolute delight having this conversation.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
And I don't need to say best of luck, because you guys are knocking it out of the park already with this album, and anything else that you're going to put your hands to, I'm sure. But listen, thank you for taking time out to join us today. Have a great weekend in New York City. I hope your weather improves. Our weather isn't that great this weekend either here in Scotland. So hey ho.
Well, the best to you, Steve. Thank you for having me. My pleasure speaking with you. I've totally enjoyed, our time talking here.
Antonio, thank you once again. Take care and God bless.
All right. Bless you, man. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
All right, bro.
We're just having a time of our lives. Ooh, what a ride. And it feels so right. It's so right. Living our best lives. Oh, you always know what's on my mind. When I start a sentence, you always finish my line. Together we make the perfect team. Even if I could, I wouldn't change a thing.